Hey, it's Mark from Quarter Mile Muscle, and I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this 1963 Superformance Grand Sport Corvette. This is a super cool car. We didn't do the whole car, but we did so much to it that we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about it. This car came to us as a kit car, essentially. It's from Superformance. They sell all the parts. You kind of put it together yourself. You get it painted and whatnot. The owner that brought it to us had purchased it from the original owner, running, driving, turning, stopping. It was a really decent car, but it had a small block, normal transmission. You know, these kit cars are built on C4 Corvette suspension, but all that was very stock C4 brakes, and we've essentially updated all of it. So it currently has a 598 cubic inch blueprint engine. It made 780 horsepower on their dyno. We haven't dynoed it ourselves yet, but we've done some upgrades, so it probably goes north of 800 at this point. It's got a Muncie, what they call the M24. It's like a super overbuilt 4-speed Muncie transmission. We've replaced the rear end center section because, you know, the C4 style suspension has independent rear suspension. So it's got the center chunk is a completely built deal that the customer had special ordered and had built, and took a couple months to get it actually. We installed that. We've upgraded the brakes with massive Wilwood brakes and front and rear, and then we did also custom built Penske shocks on it. So the Penske coilovers were special ordered for this car, and we did custom spring weights and got everything kind of leveled out. The car has almost a 50-50 weight ratio front to rear. It handles amazing. It stops on a dime and gives you 9-cent change. It's an awesome car. So we're just gonna show you a few things about it. So as you can see, this big block's wedged right in here. It's got Hilborn EFI on it. It's one of the last kits that Hilborn ever made. They're not really making them anymore, so this customer loves them, and he bought up any that he could get. It's actually got air conditioning on it, which you don't normally see on a race car, but it's got a vintage air setup on it. The hoses are all Goodrich hoses. We're a Goodrich dealer. We custom make all of our hoses. This is their 910 series hose, super lightweight, all kind of custom race car style hoses. The master cylinder is actually pretty special. We got that from a company that we use that custom builds the mounts and everything, and it was a real struggle for it to get low enough to clear the hood, so we had to do the remote reservoirs on it, and that all worked out really well. You can see, you can't really see actually the couple things we did to make the engine more race car. There's oil coolers that go all the way to the back, and then in the rear of the car there's a fan-cooled oil cooler in the rear, and it only starts, the fan only kicks on if it gets to a certain temperature, but it's always cycling that oil through that oil cooler, so it adds a lot of capacity and then keeps the engine longevity good as well. The interior is basically how Superformance builds the car. It's kind of a throwback, but there is mostly like race car fiberglass pieces. We did a few things with the gauges. There used to be a radio in the center of the dash. We eliminated that and put the battery on-off switch and all the toggles and stuff where the customer could get to them. It does have power windows, which is kind of crazy, but you know, it's just one of those little things, kind of like the air conditioning. It doesn't really belong on a race car, but it's certainly got helps with the comfort level driving the car. A couple things back here. There's an AccuSump oiling system, which, you know, will prime the engine for you, or if you ever lose oil pressure, it will actually you know, shoot a bunch of oil at the engine if it drops below a certain pressure. Again, the Goodrich hoses are plumbed all the way through the car to the engine for that. And then we've added a panel for all the fans and coolers and everything that we've added this car. Some of the other stuff we've added is like the differential has an oil cooler on it, and you can see the original one had this oil cooler here, like that's what you would have seen on the on the original race car is just an oil cooler out in the air, getting cooled down. But that one actually doesn't work. It's just to make it look like the original 1963. The one that does work is a massive one underneath the car, and it's got a gear oil pump that pumps the oil through the differential, through the cooler, and then and keeps cycling it. But it only starts pumping the oil over 165 degrees, and then that's when you need it. Because if you're trying to pump cold oil, it doesn't work so great. So it only comes on when you need it. You can see the brakes really fill out the wheel well. That's the biggest set of Wilwood brakes we could get on there, front and rear. It stops really amazing, especially with that Hydro Boost brakes. I think it makes 3,000 psi on the brake line pressure. So it's it really, you got to be really easy on the pedal on it, but it definitely stops well. One other cool thing about this, the headers and the side pipes are custom built stainless pieces. So even though this looks like a white piece of, you know, sewer pipe like they would have had on there back in the day, that's actually stainless, and the headers are 2 1/4 inch primary. So that we had these headers custom made, and they are absolutely wedged in there, but they give it all the performance it needs, and lets it breathe the way it should. And then this pipe, when it came in, it was about halfway to the door, and the customer didn't like it that way, so the one we built, we made it full length. While we had the car up in the air, I wanted to take a look at some of the cool features of this hot rod. We've got the custom-made Penske shocks in the front. You can see the big brake kit from Wilwood on the inside there. These custom fabricated stainless steel headers have a 2 1/4 primary on them, massive headers. They fit really well in here. You can see some of the plumbing here for the gear, or for the engine oil cooler, and the custom clutch linkage we had to do for this setup. It's got the QuickTime bell housing, shatterproof bell housing on it. This Muncie M24 transmission is about as built as you can make one of these. Really, really super heavy duty. As we go to the rear of the car, there's custom drive shaft. You can see the rear end. It's an extremely well built rear end. It's about as tough as you can make these. We replaced the aluminum drive shafts with steel drive shafts. Again, you can get a better look at these Penske shocks on this car. Again, those were something we worked with the local suspension company to get those sorted out for us. You got the adjustable double Heim joint, adjustable lower arms. This makes this really easy to adjust the suspension on. That sets your toe in the rear, and then this sets your camber. You can see the back of those big Wilwood brakes in the rear. One of the coolest features of this is these gear and engine oil cooler fans that we set up. So there just wasn't enough room on the front, so all of these Goodrich hoses run to the rear of the car, and they make it really, really easy to work on, but it's a lot of plumbing here. The gear oil cooler is fairly cool because it's got these fittings on it where it won't let the gear oil pump unless the gear oil is up to temperature, because this big tilt and pump will definitely pump whatever you want, but it makes it a lot harder if it's got cold gear oil in it. So, and you only ever really need it if the engines or the rear end gear is getting really hot. One other cool thing, we've got custom 4-link suspension on this one, super adjustable. Not that you need caster in the rear, but if you ever did, that would allow you to adjust it. So